Yeah, I want to welcome everyone back to Drunk Sports Boxing, the new authority on boxing, the new number one show out here on these internet streets. Allow me to reintroduce myself. It's your boy Cash. You know, I got my brother King Amin from the championship rounds, the authority on women's boxing. Amazing podcast. I've told you that before. If you haven't checked it out, you're doing yourself a disservice. Make sure you go and check that out. Also, check him out on the Boxing Voice. He'll be up on there a couple of times a week, dropping gems with Ness and the dudes. And I got my brother Bump. You already know what it is, man. Ex-fighter, trainer, martial artist, boxer, referee, the whole bit, man. You know what I'm saying? If there's a fight in town, he either fighting or he judging or he reffing or whatever. Smart dudes, my guy, man. What's going on, y'all?
Happy Father's Day, gentlemen. Happy Father's Day to everybody tuning in. This is a kind of like a recap. You know, we got to look over our sons of boxing. You know what I mean? So it's a lot going on, man. I don't know where you want to pick off at, man.
Yo, let's start. We usually go from the top of the card. Let's start with the meat, man. Pause. You know what I'm saying? Let's start right. Let's get right to it. Let's get right to the shit. Tank and Frank, you know what I'm saying? It's been building up for a minute. First of all, there was a lot of great boxing this weekend, you know what I'm saying? Shitload of boxing. A lot of good boxing as of late, but a lot of fights on this card. But let's talk about the PBC card. Tank and Frank, this was essentially like, first of all, Tank gets a lot of flack, you know what I'm saying? With the level of competition he's faced. I've been critical. Never thought he's a bad boxer. I always know he's a superb boxer, but I've been critical on the level of competition he's faced in the past, right? So this was supposedly, quote unquote, the first non-flat-footed, I hate to say it, but slick black fighter.
Let's just say it's his first he fought.
You know what I'm saying? I hate to say that shit, but that's what they was billing it as. And no, this is supposedly, Tank's toughest, fight up to the fall, because up to now you've had Leo Santa Cruz and Mario Barrios and Gamboa, and Ryan was this so-called slick fighter, whatever, but Ryan folded against him. But this was supposedly his first big test. So let's just get right into it, man. I want to play a clip in a minute, but listen, Frank started off great, man. Frank has great footwork. He's fast, like I said, he's athletic. We know Tank is, normally a slow starter, although I don't feel he necessarily started slow this fight. I feel like the pressure was on from the rip. And I felt like that pressure was constantly mounting on Frank the whole fight. You know what I'm saying? Tank had a lot of, I keep getting Frank and Tank mixed up. Frank had a lot of good moments. He turned them a lot of nice pivots, a lot of nice footwork, in and out combinations. But I felt like the whole fight, I felt like that one shot is coming. I don't know if y'all felt like that. It felt like that one shot is coming and it's night. You know what I'm saying? And I think Frank, although he had a great fight, he did a couple of things wrong. He stayed on those ropes too much, right? I think y'all can agree with that. He started telegraphing shots, you know what I'm saying? Started, Tank, how Tank does, Tank downloads and starts to set traps for you. So in the end, he winds up getting knocked out. What's your opinion of the fight? I'm going to go to you, Amin, first. To me, the story of that fight was the constant pressure, the mental pressure, and not even as much as the physical pressure, the mental pressure that Tank was putting on Frank. He was just waiting for him to make a mistake, and I think that the mental pressure had something to do with him finally making a mistake and getting knocked out. What do you think, Amin?
Whenever I watch Tank, my only question about anything he does is, when is he going to start to fight some of the names that kind of make us believe that the level of competition is there? Because in reality, I'm one of those people that always hold the Mario Barrios win in very high regard, because number one, way out of his weight class, he was in there with a legit, and Mario Barrios went on to become a world champion at 147, right?
Yeah.
So for him to be able to stop somebody being from behind, forget about what people may think about some of the antics. Yeah, he was goofing off when he rolled into the ring and shit, looking like Men on Film. But guess what? That power is something different. Now, Cash, I want to throw out the bump in a minute when I asked this, but we was having that conversation, and I was like, yo, the way it looks, Tank beats both of those guys. And both of those guys, I'm talking Dev and I'm talking Shakur. And Tank said it himself. He said, "Y'all know how to fight." I'm kind of inclined to believe that, man.
Yeah.
So
Now I'm convinced.
okay,
Last night convinced me.
okay.
Although, and Bump, we're gonna throw you. There's a glimmer. I have a glimmer of hope for Shakur, and I'm gonna play a clip from Teddy Atlas and Paulie Malignaggi in a minute. But Bump, I want to get to your thoughts real quick.
I mean, for me, and I thought Frank was going to be the test because Frank stopped Michelle Rivera.
Yeah.
And I thought Michelle, with his height, size, and power, was a problem at 135. There's even a problem for him to make it, which is why he moved up to 140 recently. So when Frank stopped him, I thought him and Tank, this was going to be the fight. Now I'm like a little bit the opposite. I've always praised Tank's resume. You know, he beat up Gamboa when Gamboa was hot. You know, Terrence Crawford was the only one before it. He beat up the Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz was the boss at his weight division. It was only him and Abner Mares, and Leo beat Abner. So I've always I've always thought Tank was just that, a tank. The question was, would his power translate? Would his chin translate when he went to 135? And Barrios was running Tiafimo around, right? He didn't want to take the fight with Barrios. A lot of people don't know that. And Barrios was that 135. He was like, well, just come meet me up here. We can fight for this. We can get it in. And Tank banged him out, as Brother Amin pointed out. For him to do Frank the way he did him, and I look at Shakur. Shakur is a fighter who doesn't duck. There's a few of these fighters, Broner. There's a few they don't duck. And if you don't duck, you could forget about it.
You could even say that about Dev too. My bad to cut you off.
Yeah, Dev is another fighter who does not duck. Ryan Garcia, who Tank disposed of, is better than we give him credit for because he's a YouTuber. But the boy can scrap. He always has squabbles. So when I look at this going forth, it's like, Shakur, we seen you against somebody with power, and you didn't like it too much. You had the box, and I like Shakur. I thought Shakur is got the skills for me at this weight division. I don't know if he's got the power and the acumen to beat Tank. Lomachenko, you've been calling Tank out for a while. It looks like you can avoid the power, but you didn't avoid it with Tiafimo. Tiafimo dropped you. I know Tank will drop. Tank is the truth. Tank is the truth, and he proved it last night, hands down.
I agree. I mean, let me just throw it to you because he made a really good point. You brought up Loma. Now, I'm going to say this about Loma, and I'm going to play this clip from Paulie real quick. I didn't hear all that Loma talk when Loma, and I'm not saying Tank couldn't beat him, but I didn't hear all that Loma talk 5 years ago when that fight was hot, when Loma was Loma. Loma's on the backside of his career. Yes, he's a really good fighter. You know what I'm saying? Still, he still has skill and technique. But now that seems like he almost aged him out and he's ready to go. Now, I do want to say this. I don't necessarily think it was Tank per se who was behind aging Loma out. I think Floyd and Al had a lot to do with that. I think Tank was ready for the smoke with anybody. But this is a business, as we know. You know what I'm saying? Let me play this clip real quick, and I want you to respond to this because you're gonna like this. Listen.
I mean, Shakur Stevenson tests him. Listen. I think Gervonta Davis looked phenomenal. I think Gervonta Davis is tonight. Well, he made a statement with the kind of, with not just the fact that he got the knockout, but the way he was able to get it. Teddy expressed it so eloquently and described it so eloquently. But there's a reason why. First of all, before I get into it, let me set the table first. First of all, they talked about Lomachenko on the post-fight press conference. Lomachenko, unlike with Stevenson, Stevenson moved his way up a little bit faster, physically was bigger than Lomachenko, despite the fact that they both started at featherweight. And Stevenson was always mentioning Lomachenko's name. Lomachenko's name was also swirling around Davis's name because Davis started at 130 pounds when Lomachenko was doing a lot of damage at 130, 126. It was like there was an allergy. Like, you didn't hear Lomachenko. There was no response about any Lomachenko conversation from Team Davis at all. Now that Lomachenko is 175 years old And yeah, he still looks good, and he's still a name. He had a win over Kambosos. You're naming Lomachenko in the post-fight press conference, but now all of a sudden Stevenson is the prime guy who doesn't represent a risk you want to take. This is my issue here. When I wanted to see Davis and Lomachenko, I wanted to see Davis and Lomachenko. I don't need to see Davis and Lomachenko when it's too late already. Now I want to see Davis and Stevenson. And guess what? Nobody's talking about Davis and Stevenson. You know what I mean? That's my issue. This is my problem with boxing. They make fights when it's convenient for them, when there's an advantage and all that, and so on and so forth. Davis looked terrific tonight, man. I mean, I was very impressed with the performance. And again, I'll repeat as Teddy so eloquently put it, you know, the way he was able to go and get that win. But come on, man. Shakur Stevenson is a different proposition than everybody else. If the little bit of problems you saw Frank giving Davis tonight, it's times 10 when Shakur's there. Because Shakur is the southpaw, the tall, rangy southpaw with a lot more IQ and a lot more versatility to his style. It's very, very different. I'd love to see the fight, though. That's not even for me to say, oh, you know what? He just dismantles him. I'm saying all this because I want to see the fight. I think Davis also is very qualified for that fight. Do I egg? I mean,
your thoughts on that? I mean,
so in another conversation we had in the back channel is how these fights are made. Let's talk about that. And Bump, I look at you as the sensei. So, you know, if I ain't quite, you know what I'm saying? If I don't hit the brick properly, you got to show me how to apply pressure. But I'm gonna hit the brick on this one.
Let's go.
Cash, what's extremely weight drained versus regular weight drained?
That was the little discussion we had.
But hold on. Not just that. What is it with? And I like what Tank is doing in his career. I've called him a prize fighter. I consider prize fighting the streets of boxing, the college of boxing, where Devin need to be chasing titles. But here's the funny thing about them streets: they ain't all cracked up what they seen, because when you go to fight Tank, I'm sure there was a difference other than the 200,000, because if it was alleged that Frank Martin was offered 1.5 for Shakur, he turned it down. Yeah, you got paid allegedly 1.7, but allegedly a hydration clause. Yeah. So these are the things when we talk about Loma and Tank. He probably figured Loma's is just not old enough. He finally doesn't have to put a hydration clause in place. The nigga's already on AARP. So I don't got to ask for him to jump through hoops. I don't got to ask for this and that in the third. I got a nice hand-carved out old guy, and I'm going to tear his ass up.
With a name big enough to get credit for.
Yeah, so the beauty about prize fighting is that it is a product of matchmaking. And so while Bump, Sensei, you say you don't have no problem with the resume, but I do, in the sense that, you know, like Paulie's saying, 5 years later, it's great. So when are we going to get the Shakur fight? Where Shakur is halfway kicking his own ass in because he thought he was supposed to leave Top Rank, but then he decided to stay. Now he's not getting enough fights, and then Tank offered him the fight, but now you're in a hydration clause because you got no way out.
These are the elements. Situation. Yeah.
These are the elements to where we got to be fair about how Tank is able to look the way he looked, man. Like, I'm not no fool. The same way I know Floyd is broken, nobody want to say it. The matchmaking is definitely a key to Davis looking as spectacular, which is what's supposed to happen in boxing. You know what I'm saying?
Big matchmaking, yes. And we'll talk about this later. I think that's why the Turkey Al Sheikh thing might, like we all said, might put a stop to all of that. But, Bump, what do you think of what I mean just said?
I think he's on point. The only thing that I would say concerning Lomachenko was calling Tank's name early, and he was smart to do so. It's the same thing I was saying about David Benavidez and Morrell. Get him now while he's young. This way you could feed dog him, beat him in maybe a close fight, but you don't have to worry about, oh, what about a rematch? I ain't doing no rematch. I done whooped the young lion. I'm moving on. Y'all handle that. I'm leaving that for you, so-and-so and Canelo. But concerning Lomachenko, Paulie kind of, I see what Paulie's doing. You want him to look like, you know, the senior citizen. but he just beat up the guy who beat up Teofimo Lopez with no problem. No problem. Stopped him in his hometown. Something Devin Haney couldn't do. He arguably, to some people, beat Devin Haney. I thought Haney won that fight, but he arguably, to a lot of people, won that fight.
So,
and he's called Tank's name in his last press conference after he beat up Australian Cambosis. So he's like, I want Tank. Let's go, Tank. If you open your mouth and you get what you asked for, we cannot be mad. Of course, Floyd kept him away from him early. Smartest thing in boxing, because Lomachenko was he was the Matrix. You couldn't figure him out.
Striking from every angle. But this the thing, Bump. And you know, them angles don't quite catch the same. You know what I'm saying? When you're at this age. So what I'm noticing about these last few stoppages from Tank, right?
Yeah.
He's always able to put. Now we know Loma can dance. The boy got footwork, right?
Yeah.
But notice, even when you mentioned Leo, he's able to back his opponent up and cut the ring off something nasty.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, Loma likes to move, but for how long? Because Frank Martin just tried. Frank Martin was moving beautifully. While Loma.
Yes.
He's not Loma though.
And I know he's not. But what I'm saying is, if you're trying to move,
footwork is official.
If you're trying to move, and Frank was, and I noticed every time he was slipping to the right, he'd be like kind of ready for it.
Yeah.
And after a while, Tank was able to time that move, and that's how he caught him moving around. And he caught him with that uppercut, and then he finished him with that straight left. So what I'm saying is, Tank has a beautiful way of even some of the best. And I think because this is an older Lomo, we can't get him as slick as a snake. Maybe this is one where you're catching the tiger by his toe, and he will not, Tank that is, will not let that motherfucker go.
This is Bob Arum cashing Loma out if that fight happens, because
Loma
and
might be been too. Loma's been asking for that. Yeah, Bump.
Yeah. He's been asking. Shakur is asking. Really, I think the smart thing, I think Shakur should wait. You need to be ringside for the Loma fight, because Loma is going to be, he's going to box. He's going to really cause Tank a problem, and it's going to be close. And I think Tank will stop him. But damn, Teofimo couldn't stop Loma, and Loma got dropped late, got up and won the 12th round, arguably. So it's really a matter of, can Tank get it done? Because he's got to catch Loma. He's not going to win the boxing. He's going to lose a bunch of rounds and need a knockout. That's what we're about to watch. And that's going to be the question. That's going to be the question. Floyd thought that he might get what the Axeman got, and that's why he kept him away from him in the first place. Y'all remember when he fought Nicholas the Axeman? I'm like, the Axeman going to get him. Axeman touched him a few times, and then Loma turned it into something totally different. He turns it into a matador.
Yeah.
So
do you guys remember in the T.O. Loma fight, Loma was very respectful of T.O.'s power early on in that first half of that fight. Then he started turning on a little bit late. He came on late. He started doing all his matrix shit. You know what I'm saying? I think it's the same thing with Tank. I think he's going to be very respectful of that power. That might be a problem. But let me ask you this. I mean, in terms of Shakur, right? Because me and you said he sleeps both of them, Loma and Shakur, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how competitive is the Shakur fight? Of course, it can end in a knockout. Pretty much anyone in a weight class, or even in one above weight class, 140, most likely going to end in a knockout with Tank. He's that good. His power is that good. His timing is that good. He really impressed me last night. Do you think Shakur got a shot against him at all?
Legitimately, I think as long as there's no weight clauses and no hydration clause and none of that bullshit, I think, Shakur has a better chance. But I think that's some of the hidden magic that we may or may not, recognize it. And look, it's like ghostwriting and rap. You don't really know until a reference track comes out. Nobody wants to talk about being in a hydration clause or having to abide by that until after the fight. They say, yeah, well, you know, I took the fight. He told me and I took the fight. And it's like, oh, I ain't know the nigga wrote for you too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know we was accepting bars from everybody else. So it becomes very tricky for me to judge how Shakur would do, but I feel like he has a very fair chance without it. But if now here's a funny thing, that's part of boxing, right? That's part of boxing. If I don't like your verse, I could take your shit off the record. And we'll never hear it. We'll never hear your verse on the record. So if you really want to fight that bad and you have to sign up for the hydration clause, I mean, it's just something that fighters have to be prepared for. You know what I'm saying? So
you don't like the hydration clause? I'm on the fence about the hydration clause. I'll be honest with you. I see the good points because Tank makes some good points about that, but I also see it as, you know, obviously a disadvantage. You know. Listen,
and I'm gonna say this as real as I can.
Yeah.
I'd rather practice the withdrawal method because I like what I like. So if I like a fight at 140. And I'm going to take the fight at 140. Why am I moving up to 140? They say, yeah, but you can't rehydrate. So don't take the fight at 140. And I think part of that, too, because Tank was undisciplined and he had issues. Now, it's been a long time since he's had that
strap on the scales. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, but it's like, you know, yes, take every advantage that you can, but that's such an obvious advantage where, you know, but it's common. It's common to do, you know, even in the IBF specifically, you know what I'm saying? Even without the fighter asking for it, you know, as the A side, there's a hydration clause in there. So it's a part of the game. Is it a good part? I don't think so. But again, if you really want to see where you at and you really want to say, yo, Shakur, I think I'm better than you. Baltimore versus Newark, no hydration. But if you say, yeah, I think I'm better than you, Baltimore versus Newark, I'm the A side, hydration clause, I walk out first, my name on the poster, you can't eat salmon tonight. But if you doing all of that, you're allowed to do all of that, but that's where it becomes more about the matchmaking component than us ever really seeing two contemporaries that are challenging for greatness in that fight.
Yo, you said Baltimore versus Newark. I'm clicking up to go to that fight. You know what I'm saying? I ain't going in there solo, son. You feel what I'm saying? Because I'm from New York, so I know all about Newark. I lived in Virginia. I was right down the road from Baltimore. That shit gonna be some shit.
It's gonna be in Brooklyn. You already know.
We making New Yorkers choose up.
Yeah. I got roll my Jersey people, man. You know what I'm saying? Tri-state. You know how we roll and shit. But yeah, it'd have to be in the Barclays. I would think that would make the most sense. It's not going to be in the MGM in DC. Like unless it could be in the MGM in Vegas. That's it. But I don't think it could be anywhere else. I think it's got to be East Coast. If it's not in the MGM, it's got to be based on the East Coast. That's what, you know what I mean? In my opinion.
I mean, you got Atlantic City. You got the casinos out there. But when you got something that meaty, it's going to be in Barclays. It's going to be, because Tank's crowd is definitely coming. And Shakur's crowd is definitely coming to Brooklyn.
Baltimore to Brooklyn, basically. And it's what, 35 minutes, 40 minutes to Brooklyn from with traffic. You jump on 13 or whatever. Exit 13, Gotham's, you gone. You know what I'm saying?
Jersey come across that GWB, hit Hackensack, I-4. You come on. You know what I'm saying?
It should be Madison Square. Brooklyn is like, we could make it to Brooklyn, but Brooklyn is no parking, and it's, you know what I'm saying?
You're right. You ain't lying.
You got to park around the corner from Gowana's houses and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Or that bullshit garage right on the side of, like, right by the Long Island Rail. Yeah, Brooklyn's the parking is terrible. You ain't lying about that.
At least when you go to Manhattan,
right up the street from there, so I'm good.
Yeah, that's terrible. You take you 3 hours. If you drive there, it's taking you 3 hours to get the fuck out of just the garage.
That's what I'm saying.
It's shit nuts and shit. But yeah. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. We'll see what's in the future for both of those guys. Yo, on the same card, the co-main. You know what I'm saying? David Benavidez. You know, I'm partial to him. We've had his pops on the show a couple of times. Real good dude. You know what I'm saying? rapped with him before Bump couldn't make it that day. Those 2 times. So I'm a little bit partial to the Benavidez's, you know what I'm saying? But I gotta be real. Moving up to 175, right? Wasn't able to secure the Canelo fight at 68. That was really the only thing left for him down there after the Plant and the Boo Boo win, right? Comes up to 175. People are saying, how's Benavidez going to look? You know, he has to gain the weight. Started off looking good to me. I was drinking the Kool-Aid. I text you out. I think he stopped somebody. Amin was like, nah, I don't see it. I don't see that happening. Shit. Definitely slowed down. He looked good. He was throwing a lot of punches. He looked fast. Didn't look like he had as much power. Didn't look like it really moved up with him yet. You know what I'm saying? But he did look on point. The skills look good. His defense was a little suspect at times. I also thought he had good defense at times. You know what I'm saying? I think he needs to work on that. But you could definitely see he was laboring a little bit. Bump, I'm gonna go to you first. What was your thoughts on Gazvek versus Benavidez? A lot of people thought that Gazvek wasn't really fighting his fight, wasn't punching his, the way he normally would punch. He was pity-patting. What was your thoughts on Dave, who moved up to 175 in that fight last night?
I don't think Benavidez allowed him to fight his fight. And sometimes fighters do something that pisses me off. And I always scream at my fighters when they do it. A guy hits you with a powerful shot or a nice combination, and you start punching like you like him. Like, don't knock me out. Yeah, we're here. I know you. They do that. And then you really have to check a fighter who does that. But Benavidez's power will make you do that. And you can see that's what happened with the young Russian. He looked good to me. The only thing, as I suspected, he was going to have some issues with carrying the weight so late in the fight because he couldn't get him out of there. He was like, God damn, this is 175, ain't it? So, once he got comfortable a little bit, understood what he's going to expect, it was good. Now, he mentioned in the post-fight press conference that both hands are hurt. Both hands are hurt. He got cut before he came in there. Plus, he got cut during the fight. So he was really dealing with.
Is that why they got Stitch in there? Because Stitch was a late addition, I believe, right? Wasn't he to the camp?
Shout out to my man Stitch. His hands were bad, and if your hands are bad, you got to just tough through it, which is what he did. He'll probably be chilling for about 3 months. He said 2 to 3 months, and then he'll hop back in there and get ready to. What he said is, I can compete at 168.
I heard that.
And 175. And I have no problem making that 168. The question will be, and this always does fight. This is what destroyed Roy Jones. He went up to heavyweight, and then he tried to come back down to, and it didn't work so well because Tarver's a beast.
Yeah.
David has to be careful. I don't think he has to worry about being careful with Canelo. He only comes down for one fight. Canelo. If he does that, he's good to go. The question I posed to both of y'all, and I'm going to pass it to the king. Do you think he should start to lift the weights and get acclimated at this weight now? Or does he take his time, wait for the 168 crown, possibly stay slender and fit, and just deal with the challenges at 175 until he gets the Canelo fight or gives up on it completely?
I think he needs to let that Canelo shit go. Forget about it. And quite frankly, I think he needs to let 168 go. It's lots of new blood at 168. Unless Benavidez found himself to where, and I don't see him being able to do it because of the promotional issues. If he found himself in a position to where he could say, yo, I can cock block Canelo by fighting all of Canelo's potential opponents. I'm in a position to fight Berlanga. I'm in a position to fight this guy. If that were the case, then I would say stay at 168 and keep chasing him around, keep upsetting the apple cart. But if that ain't happening and you say you've moved on, like, you can't be out with your new bitch looking for your old bitch. If you at
your old bitch got deep pockets though.
So why you leave her then? This is what I'm trying to say. Security, because they come on, we don't need her. We don't need her.
He's talking about sex when we get married.
You see, but it's if David don't commit to 175, also Sensei, you gotta let me know. mentally, the style that he's fighting, he's used to overwhelming and bewildering people at 168, the giant smothering people. He ain't that at 175. So the mentality and the physicality has to align. And until he makes a commitment, right? Stop looking for the old bitch, right? And listen, if you broke with the new bitch and she pretty, that's cool. You should have stayed with the one that got the bread. That's what I would have did. All right.
Yeah,
and he wanted to stay at 168. He should have been at 168, calling out the Mbillis of the world, calling out the Diegos or the Pachecos of the world, calling out the Berlangas of the world. If you're not doing that, go to 175 and like Bump said, start lifting the weights. Because now you're talking about who? I mean, light work, and it's still heavy-handed. Pause is Anthony Yard. Unless he's looking to fight a fellow boxer with softer, a softer, you know, I don't want to say softer, but with not known to be a puncher like Joshua Buatsi. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you really aiming for at light heavyweight? You know what I'm saying? Ben Whitaker, is he interested in Ben Whitaker at 175? Because what I'm saying is you got to be looking to fight tall, small frame guys if you're not going to get acclimated to the weight.
The big money fights are Bivol, obviously, and Benavidez. Those are the big money fights. I would stay away from. I'm sorry, Benavidez. I better be even Bivol. I might stay away from the way he looked last night in terms of his power. And I know it's his first fight, and I'm not saying, you know, but until he, like you said, until he starts maybe putting on some of that natural, you know, muscle weight, not water weight, muscle weight. I might stay away from Benavidez. Maybe Bivol might be the better look for him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, his
Bivol coming in off a
good
stoppage,
enough
right?
for Benavidez. Yeah,
Bivol just coming in off a. No, go ahead, Bump.
No, Benavidez would cause him a problem because he's defensively irresponsible, and he mentioned that. He said, "I like to get hit, and I know that feeling, but you can't." Look, David, as a guy who, shout out to the homie Wanderlei Silva and Rumble Johnson and company over at Shootbox. When we would put our hands down and let you punch us in the face until we felt like we should leave the gym, you don't want to do that at this higher weight. Your chin will go, and that's what I think can take you to. There's two things that happened last night. Remember, I told y'all, I've written this on my Supreme Striking blog. One of the dream fights was Usyk versus Benavidez. Usyk is cleared out the heavyweight division and doesn't generally like to fight trees. He will probably come back down. Benavidez, if he can beat Beterbiev, he said Bivol is next, but if he can beat both of them or just one of them, and Beterbiev is not in the equation for whatever reason, there's a good chance Usyk and Benavidez can meet, and that is a super, super duper fight. So he's beaten Bivol in the gym. Gym doesn't always translate to the ring, as we seen with Frank and Tank. But if you beat Bivol and you say, "I'll get to you later, Beterbiev," Usyk, I know you're talking about coming back down. Let's get that super fight. That is the type of money that he's looking to get. That life-changing money. Last night, I think he got like maybe 3 or 2 million. So if you're talking about that big money, that huge money, and this is when you don't have to chase Canelo. Focus on Bivol, get past him, get that belt. Even if you don't unify, say Usyk's name, because he was there to watch you. He was there because of the night was big, but he was there to watch you, David. Get that fight.
Where do they do it at, though? They do it at Cruise? Where do they do it?
Oh, man, they could do that anywhere. You could let Saudi Arabia do that money.
No, I
right
mean
there.
in terms of the weight. Where do they mean in terms of the weight, though?
Well, he's talking about coming possibly back down to cruiser.
So David have to go up a little bit, or catch weight, maybe?
Possible catch weight, because David, if he gets acclimated at this weight, shouldn't have a problem moving up to cruiser. Light heavy, which is where he's at, or cruiser, which is where he's at. So if they do a catch weight between cruiser and light heavy, that's a mega fight right there. That's a big money fight, and it's so realistic right now. That is a possibility. That is a possibility for sure. So he has to make up his mind which direction he wants to go. If he takes another slender fight, slender tender, where he can beat him up, but his defense doesn't have to be razor sharp, that might be good. And then get to Canelo, get to the bag, or put on the weight, get ready to get down with Bivol. And if you beat Bivol, call Usyk, get your money, and then you can come back down and get busy with Beterbiev or whoever you'd like to, because Beterbiev is damn near 50.
Bivol's a tough fight for him too, though, man, because Bivol, it's almost like the Caleb Plant fight, but I think he's better than that speed, that accuracy, that technique, combined with with being used to 175 already for Bivol. That's a dangerous fight as well.
So these are the fights, and I mentioned one and I mentioned the other. These are the two fights at light heavyweight that can prepare him for either a Bivol or a Beterbiev. So I think Buatsi and that style prepares him for Bivol, right? Like you said, a slender tender bump. You know what I'm saying? Buatsi's built more like a ball player than a football player or a fighter, right? So and he's a boxer. You know what I'm saying? Not a puncher, it's pure boxer for the most part. But then on the other side of that, you got Anthony Yard, who is more or less a self-trained or unconventional, got it out the mud kind of boxer. You know what I mean? So he's got those elements of power. He's got those elements of dog, those elements of punching. He went a nice distance and gave Beterbiev, some shit to think about. So I think if you put Benavidez in either of those two fights before you go in either direction, right? Because we're still waiting to see how Bivol and Beterbiev turns out. But one of you guys said something, because I feel like Beterbiev, his only Achilles heel is injuries. He's like, so for some reason, if he's out of the equation, it would be because of injury. And I could kind of understand how John Scully and the boys over there in Montreal with Beterbiev, they like, yo, maybe we don't want our guy as strong as tough as he is, right? He's getting like Loma, that age, he's on the backside. So when you got a guy that maybe not the one punch power, but the pressure, chasing my guy around the ring. My guy is not going to be chasing somebody around. This is somebody coming forward. So I think that's an interesting mix, but certainly danger for David. But this is, like I said, this is what you have to do, because you got to forget about Canelo in 168. We got tons of shit for you at 175, Davey boy. Don't go nowhere.
What about two questions? Do you think? I know Davey wants big money fights. You can see he got the place out in Miami. Pops is iced up. Everybody iced up. Everybody getting money. You can see that they about the bag. You know what I'm saying? They're not dead looking for titles and all that. Do you think Beterbiev is a big money fight? Is Bivol a big money fight?
Yes.
Or are there some big money fights? Maybe you let the Morrell shit cook for a little while. You know what I'm saying? I'm
gonna tell you why. Because of what. Maybe we'll be getting to it in a minute. Now's the perfect segue, because of Big Turk. Now, granted, you mentioned, one of you guys mentioned before, Benavidez doesn't even have to unify, because that WBA gets him over there with Turkey. Turkey says, oh, he got a belt, bring him on over here. Maybe I want to see him in Badu Jack. Turkey is very good for helping out his Muslim brothers. So he's always trying to shoehorn one of his Muslim brothers in the fight. But not just that. Again, if David positions himself at 175, that makes it seem very. Jay Opataya at cruiserweight found himself vacating the title to go get the turkey bag, then turned around and get it back and won his belt in a fucking turkey bag. Turkey got the bag, man. Are we gonna talk about turkey in the bag, or are we still dancing?
Let's talk about it's Thanksgiving, nigga. Let's go. Let's talk
about
it,
man. Because, and let me just say this right quick, because I think this is what would have helped that card last night just a little bit, and maybe some of what happened with Matias. I mean, because we needed a little bit more. Now, it was a lot of action on that PBC card, but it was a lot of filler too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And so we could streamline it with just 5 to 7, 8 cards. 3, 4, 5 of them is title bouts. You know what I'm saying? Just like that. We don't have to have this one and that one. And you got, respectfully, you got my trainer and you putting people on. You got my trainer, you got his daughter, you got his nephew, you got everybody. You know, who can I get on? I got my nephew on there. You know what I'm saying? And that's what you're supposed to do. But for the value, and that's where we going wrong. For $75, I don't think anybody that I know was interested in paying $75, even though it was Tank, even though he got the stoppage, even though we got a chance to see Benavidez at 175. Because after that, how much substantial action. Gary Antoine Russell, that was a good fight. Him and Puello, you know.
Yes, that was a very good fight. I thought Gary got it, but I'm not mad at. I can't be mad at the decision. I had him, squeaking it out though, But he did a lot. He made him a lot of mistakes. But also, like you had said last night to me, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Puello's a former champion. It's a really good step up fight, and it's his first southpaw. And listen, I'm not mad at it. He fought a good fight. Not like he got blown out. You know what I'm saying? So I think he gets back in the gym with his brothers and all that, and I think they go back to the drawing board, work on a couple of things, and I think he's gonna be just fine. What do you guys think?
It kind of, the way they treat the Russells upsets me a little bit. We watched Gary Russell Jr. beat up Mark Magsayo, who put on a great performance last night with one hand. One hand, he beat him with no problem. You still give Magsayo the belt. He turns around and loses it shortly after. Here you got Gary Anton Russell, who's climbing up. You got Puello, who is looking to get back in the mix. He did himself a good service last night by counterpunching, landing big shots. I still thought Russell pushed the fight, made the pressure, landed the bigger shots. He made the fight. You give that fight to the young fighter generally, and that's not what happened. It's not like he did. It's not like Puello. Well, Puello did a good job. I can't knock him, I can't knock him. You can't even knock the decision. But I thought Gary did enough clearly to win the fight. When you do that to the Russells, though, you're really disrespecting a great boxing acumen, and it's really piss poor boxing that you treat that family like that with all that they've given, and just watching them, the professionalism from Gary and company, and the fact that all the brothers box, and their daddy was a boxer, and he's passed away recently. That's boxing royalty. I expect boxing to treat them better.
One thing about them, and I don't want to say the collective Russells, but let's talk about Gary, because as I've affectionately called him, the Fonz. You want to know why? Because the Fonz always did a good job of hanging out at the high school with the fucking children. All right. And Gary Russell, it's no black man in America, unless he's a fucking camel jockey after a certain age, can continue to weigh 126 pounds. That's why we're expecting to see Shushu exceed 126. So you still leather jacket, 126 pounds, fighting once a year, holding the WBC title hostage in Capitol Heights, Maryland. I don't know how much respect we got to give Gary, but certainly the Russells as an entity, as a family within boxing, yes. But Gary,
they're the Wayans of boxing. They're the Wayans of fucking family.
You know why we gotta give Gary respect? Gary is the only one you knew who beat Terrence Crawford up.
But even that, but that was
Terrence, because Terrence, you are a creature of. But Gary beat you up, and he wrestled you down. And he's only 126 pounds when he does it.
Yeah, but he was.
I fuck with Gary.
He was an adult beating up a teenager. Now, what that was is what Cat Williams should have did when that little nigga roughed him up. That's all we really talk. We're not talking about two men when they was equal man on man strength. We talking about a teenage Terrence Crawford and the Fonz picking on somebody younger than him, and Terrence Crawford admitted that.
But Crawford did it. Gary didn't do it. Crawford did that. Crawford pressed it, pushed it. Gary told him chill out. He ain't chill out. He wore him down. He wore him out. Like, that's what you're supposed to do with them young boys. Like, slow your roll. I told you chill. Oh, now it's going outside the ring. I told you chill. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
No doubt.
Definitely, you want to see Gary. But I mean, Gary, he tried to challenge the Tank Davises of the world. He just didn't get the chance. He lost to Lomachenko.
Yeah.
Wanted a rematch, but he didn't get his Tank Davis fight. He didn't get a few other of those fights.
So what do we think is next for Gary Antoine? Because again, I don't think he's diminished in any way with a loss against a former champion. Remember, Puello lost his belt on the scale.
Yep.
He ain't lose his belt in the ring. You know what I'm saying? So I got no issues with Puello as an opponent.
Gary, that's a very good question. What do you got? Dan, what do you think? At 140, what do you think?
It's a lot for him to do at 140. You got names in the hat at 140. Michelle Rivera's there.
Him and Matias. Gary Matias is a great fight right now.
Off a loss. Yeah, Matias lost last night to
I like that.
Yo, what did Bump say? That rock'em sock'em shit don't work with a skilled fighter. Let's talk about that before we go to Turkey. There's a lot of shit we don't have on that. We could talk about Elijah Garcia looking bad. There's a bunch of shit we could talk about. Goucher and Adames classic fight. A lot of shit we could talk about. But let's real quick, because it was a big upset in the eyes of some people. A lot of people kind of saw that coming. Subriel Matias loses to Pyro. Pyro just controlled the outside, man. It's evident to me, Matias, if he's not on the inside, he's got nothing to me. That's how it looks to me. He only has to fight on the inside. He's got no outside game. Pyro controlled the distance. He didn't look scared. Matias got in some good shots, but a lot of people saying Matias is a hype job. It's hyperbole attached to his name every time someone speaks about him. He loses. Listen, this is worse than it looks. He loses in his hometown on his first fight with Eddie in the DAZN, right? That's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? He got his belt snatched at that too. He got punked. He got his lunch money taken, and they sent his ass home. I like Matias. He's a very exciting fighter, and I think he's a good fighter. I just don't like. I think Dev and Teddy Atlas said this shit too. Dev saw Ryan Garcia as the easy route, and that kind of, forget about the alleged PEDs and all that. That shit backfired. Some would say, although we know there's shit attached to that. I think Dev and them should have really pursued Matias a little bit more. He has what it takes to beat Matias. He could have unified, but that's neither here nor there. What did you think of him losing the strap last night?
Yo, I was disappointed. Let me say, not because Liam Powell won, but for two reasons, and one is what you said. I had said after Devin lost, I said, this is how you get back right. Go after the titles. Go after unifications. Maybe you don't want Tio, but go and pull it up on the Boxing Voice. I said, go after a known killer. Go after a known puncher and spank his ass with your pure boxing.
Yes.
Get out of the streets.
Yes.
That prize fighting shit, that catchweight shit, that's for Tank. That's for Ryan. That's for Floyd. That's for Canelo. That ain't for you, Dad. If you would have went back to school and went the college route, get your little piece of paper, get this title. Your masters. It could have been him, the one that upset.
Yes.
You get so that's why I was disappointed. Number one. Number two, I'm proud of Liam Powell because he has been a highly touted but only a snake bitten fighter, meaning injury has held him back more than anything, because Shakur swore by Liam Powell, said, yo, this dude is a southpaw. He could pop. You know Shakur, he could pop. That means that motherfucker pop.
Yeah, fact.
Because you have to be able to lay a glove on Shakur for him to know you could pop, right?
Yeah, yes.
So that says a lot about Powell.
High praise from one of the kings.
You get what I'm saying? So I'm proud of him for winning. Disappointed that it wasn't Devin being able to take that scalp, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? That would have been like some Sugar Ray Leonard shit coming back on Duran. You go into Puerto Rico and upset this guy and you unify. We would have been like, yo, fuck what happened with the cheater. This is what I told y'all Devin Haney was about.
Yeah, right.
But I gotta move on from that the same way.
Hold on, that makes the whole Ryan shit look like less credible. It was the outlier. You see, he took the shit. I just whooped Matias' ass. You know what I mean? Yeah, I agree with you on that.
That's all, man. But Bump, what you think, man? Because you called it from the outset. Because again, this is why you the sensei. Because listen, if your style is imperfect, you are imperfect.
Be water, my friend.
So tell us why that Rock'em Sock'em shit didn't work, even if we think we already know. Break it down to us, Bump.
That's right. That'll walk forward. I'm a zombie, and I can take your best shot. As soon as you get cut, Kashtazu, as soon as you got cut, Matisse, soon as you got cut and seen your own mortality in your face dripping down your eye, all of a sudden you ain't that guy. So what you have to remember is Matisse punches at weird angles and hits you really hard because he's got weird strength. But when you're in front of him, you can move and maneuver around his punches. And that's the problem. This is why I don't think he could beat a Devin Haney, and I really don't think he could beat a Teofimo Lopez. But since you did lose, Brother Matisse, I would love to see you and Gary Antoine Russell. And because Haney still has the belt, you and Paro, all four of y'all, on a card will light the building up because we want to see you and Gary get it on because y'all some bangers, and we want to see we want to see what Haney has left, and Paro just took a belt at 140, and both of you are boxers, except for Paro got a little more pop than you. Let's see what's really good. Let's see what's really hood. And in this way, you don't have to face Catterall immediately or any of those other characters that you probably don't think that you want to get in the ring with right after you fought Ryan. This is the card to make next for Haney, Gary, Matisse, and Paro. Let's see those four go to war. We still got the belt, Haney. We still still want to see it. Boom, boom. Him and Paro, and then Gary versus Matisse. Those are both excellent matches. And then, Mr. Gary Antoine Russell, we can see you work on your boxing acumen. We can see if you really have what your older brother has and bring it to the table.
Well,
I think he lost faith in his jab last night. He looked a little bit better when he's pumping that jab early on. Even his brother said it like, "Yo, jab, work behind that jab," and he kind of went away from that. But I think I'm gonna get you. I think that Puello's way better defensively than Matias. So I think he'd have a lot more fucking openings with Matias. You know what I'm saying? He was very leery of Puello's countering yesterday. You know what I'm saying? You can see that was evident. You know what I'm saying? I don't think. Matter of fact, Matias is not as crazy as it sounds. Is not as good puncher, a counter puncher as a Puello. But what are you going to say? I mean,
140-pound is crazy because you got Hitchens, right? Mandatory for that IBF. So now he's doing like this. Woo. And probably mad that he was worried about the hydration clause because maybe that could have been him. He already had the ugly win over Lemos, right?
Yeah.
But mentally, he wasn't ready for another
good win.
Tough fight. That could have been okay, cool, forget about it. So now he's going to push for Paro, right? Because he's the mandatory. You got Devin. If he can get a solid win over Sandor and beat Sandor more impressively than Tio did, then you can get back on track and say, man, fuck all. I ain't fighting these motherfuckers at catchweights. I want blue chip. I'm after championship belts. I'm going to college, man. I'm going home. I'm going to curfew. So boom. You either look for Tio or look for the winner of Paro and Hitch, or try to get Hitch some step aside money if Eddie Pockets is deep enough, and then get in there with Paro for the unification. But he's got to get past Sandor Martin in an impressive way and just let go of what happened in the past, man. That's what at least I think.
Before we move on to Sheik, I'm interested to see what Dev looked like when he come back mentally. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I want to see what it, because, ass whooping like that, regardless if it's Osterine or whatever the fuck, anabolic shit, whatever it is, you're still an ass whooping at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So we saw guys get their ass whipping and was never the same. Adrian Broner, Deontay Wilder, you know what I'm saying? Well, Dev is a lot more skilled than both of those guys, I believe. Well, maybe not early AB, but he's right in that pocket. But I would like to see what it looks like when he comes back. Is he going to be gun shy? Is he going to be mentally ready to jump in the ring? And Sandor Martin's probably he'll make the fight ugly. He's an awkward fighter, but he's not the biggest puncher, so that's probably and along with it being his mandatory, it's probably a good fight for him to have to come back and rebuild his confidence. You know what I'm saying? I would think.
And more importantly, Sandor Martin is a gentleman, so there's not going to be a lot of shit talking. Because I think that's the toughest thing for Dev to have dealt with is all the shit talking.
Yeah,
maybe I don't have to train as hard. We're gonna do this and do that, and then it don't turn out that way. So now you got a gentleman, you know, Sandor. Oh, my English is not good. It's not gonna be a lot of slick talking. So Dev get to just and you know, you mentioned some guys, Cash. You on the money tonight because he need those guys' heart, man. He kind of need, like, if we was building, you know, some Wizard of Oz shit, like he needs Adrian Broner's stupidity. I beat that boy. Like he need that. He needs Deontay Wilder's kind of like delusion. Like, yeah, I'll kill somebody in the ring and you ain't busting a break with a fruit fight. Like he needs elements of that personality to move forward. We don't want him to feel too deeply affected.
Short-term memory. You gotta let you gotta let it go.
Because like even when I see Spence ringside, Spence don't want to get back in the ring. He will, but he doesn't want to. He don't. Spence don't want to get back in the ring. Like I don't want to be up past midnight on a weeknight. Like we'll do some shit if we got to do it. But who the fuck want to do that?
It was good seeing Arrow though, man. Arrow ain't pop out in a minute, so it was good seeing Arrow out and about. You know what I'm saying? I'm a big Arrow guy. I don't know. We'll talk about Fundora and Arrow down the line, but one last thing on Deb before we got to talk about the Sheik shit, and then we're gonna go. But one last thing on Deb. Part of me feels like I feel like he was on some partying, rocking big chains. I'm Devin Haney coming off a big win against Regis. I feel like he slept on Ryan a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he slept on whoever. I feel like he was feeling himself. I know Dev was notoriously, you know, he trains hard. He's up in the mountains running. You know, I get all of that shit. He be by you, bumping Denver and all that shit. But part of me feels like he ain't really take Ryan fucking serious. Like you know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I could be wrong though. You know what I mean?
The game plan was wrong. You're going in there, you're loading up shots because you came off a knockout. Don't feel your own juice. You still was supposed to get in there and be that boxer that we wanted to see, the untouchable, the uncanny. And you came in there listening to your daddy. And unfortunately, and you could hear the game plan was, no, hit him with the power shot. No, combination, set up your power shots, Bill. You know this, my brother. So combinations, step to the side, whichever side, wherever you at, and then boom, you hit him with that shot.
Like he was
once
doing
they
Regis.
start to reach and start to try to get at you, that's when they walk into something. That's when you set your traps up. And I thought Devin would do that. Nothing like that. Ryan's been over there with Floyd. He's with your mans. And you drank the Kool-Aid.
He drank the Kool-Aid. He was trying to knock him out. You should have fought your fight. Now, granted, Ryan has a lot of speed, and you know, I guess he failed those 2 tests, so it's no longer allegedly. He was on that shit, at least a little bit of it. You know what I'm saying? So that does give you speed and power and hand-eye coordination and all that other shit. So, you know, I did play a factor. But fuck all that, man. Let's talk about big pockets. Turkey Al Sheik, man. Yo, this dude is taking hostile takeover. Listen, man, them Saudi dudes already kind of threw a bunch of money at golf and locked that shit down. Had everybody jumping off the PGA, fucking with them. You know what I'm saying? Threw a lot of money in soccer. You know what I'm saying? Trying to snatching that shit up. Now they're coming after boxing. You know, we should have saw this coming. We see all the fights he's putting on. You know what I'm saying, over there. You know, now
Formula One racing too.
Formula One. You know what I'm saying? That PIF is that shit got no bottom.
Everlast.
You know what I'm saying?
You better watch Amir Khan. Here comes Everlast. That's what it's about right now.
Yo, so basically they are trying to start a boxing league, right? A world boxing league. I don't have the specifics in front of me. I think it's like 200 boxes. What is it? 15 different weight classes, something like that.
Yeah,
15 weight classes.
One belt.
One belt per division or whatever. Like I said, they have deep pockets. It sounds like they kind of want to mimic the UFC business model. You know what I'm saying? Except that I hear the fighters probably will get paid more. In order to do so, they will have to buy out all of these promotional companies. And I mean, you was explaining to me that, like, if they buy out Hearn or De La Hoya or Ben Shalom or Eddie, Top Rank, or whatever, they would get a percentage, kind of like what Mark Cuban just did. He sold the Dallas Mavericks, but he still retained 27% of ownership, and he runs the fucking, he runs the day-to-day. He's the, the president of basketball operations still. So that's what De La Hoya essentially would be like. He'd still have a percentage of Golden Boy, and he'd still run the daily operations. And I'm going to ask you guys a question in a minute, but my first question to you guys is, a lot of people like this. There's some people that don't like this because like Ness like to say that, they're like their promotion company banging, you know what I'm saying? I like it. We'll get to see the fights we want to see. No question about it. I don't know if some boxers were like that, you know what I'm saying? But we'll definitely get the fights we want to see. It'll kind of clear out all the bullshit, all the promoters trying to, wheel and deal and save their fighters from losing fights and protecting their assets and all this other bullshit that goes on. We all know in boxing. It would end all the so-called cold wars and street crossing shit that's kind of crumbling as we speak. Anyway, as we're looking at it anyway. I mean, do you like this idea of a world boxing league run by the Saudis essentially? And if you do like it, what do you think are the benefits of it?
So I think a lot of people are offended with the idea that it's going to be run by the Saudis.
Yeah.
And I think that we got to get a handle on how this world works and realize that people with the most capital run everything. Facts. So whether they're Saudi, whether you want to believe it's a Rothschild, whether you want to believe whoever, it's somebody with the capital. Mm-hmm. When you get an infusion of capital, it makes the business be able to expand and operate better. So for boxing, all the positives I see is some of what you mentioned, but just in a little bit more detail. So boom, you got these guys running their own companies on a day-to-day operations and the things that they used to be able to complain about. And so Bob is up here and he goes down and tell Todd, hey, no, we can't do it. Oh, we don't have the money. I did the projection. We can't do Cash. We can't make the fight. It's not gonna. What are you, silly?
What are you, an idiot?
Right? Well, that doesn't happen anymore because now, why can't we make it? It's gonna go to purse bid. Don't worry about it. Yeah. What would it go to purse bid for? 200,000. Let's just pay $500,000.
Yeah. Throw money at it.
That's how it's gonna go. So then, how can you complain?
Till they start losing money, but go ahead. Yeah.
Now, but that's the thing. They're not even in it to turn a profit because it's an investment fund. There's so many layers of protection to where not only do they have the money, they need to spend the money because they need to say, yo, they got to show their boss, the motherfuckers that own all the Exxons and all that shit. Yo, remember that money we gave you to go do something with? What did you do with it? Oh, I got a boxing company in America. You should come when you're visiting. You can come and see. They just set up the Fontainebleau in Las Vegas to mimic the same Fontainebleau that's in Miami.
Yeah, facts.
That takes money. They built the fucking casino.
Yeah,
you get what I'm trying to. That's
the
money.
Aria, that whole setup. That's them. All of that stuff over there.
They're not worried about making the money at this point, and I think that's what bothers people, because then they say, "Well, why do they want to be involved in it? Why do they want to be invested?" Personally, I don't give a shit, but I know that their involvement, it like all things, we need competition. If it's only one game in town and things are only being done one way, then everybody just keeps doing shit the same way. Fighters keep getting bad contracts, keep complaining about not getting paid, even at the highest level. With Turkey involved, when's the last time you've heard any of those discrepancies? You got people vacating titles to go get that money. So now you have the parity financially and competitively that they've added to the game. That's just me. Bump, I know you had a point or two to add. Go ahead.
Okay. Economically responsible is the biggest one, because now, and just like with the PGA Tour, why did they jump ship? Because you wasn't paying them nothing, right? So now, if I'm a fighter, and it's just like when Don King first brought his game in town, Bob Arum and all them was mad, but guess what? Don King was getting you paid. He might say 12 million, you might walk out with 5 million, but it's $1 million and not 800,000.
Larry Holmes said that all the time, Bump.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing. Even Tyson was the richest athlete on the planet. He just wasn't the smartest businessman. He knows that. So when you talk about them coming over, Oh, the you know the racist remarks they'll make about them. Who cares? They paying. They paying, and not only are they paying, they're taking care of the fighters, and they don't even do it because of money. They want to see certain things come to fruition. Like they're interested in the finality of things. What boxer is actually the best, and then they want to see it, and they'll pay to the end of that. And if we can get pretty much the best boxers on the planet on that slate, let it run. Let it run.
They're gonna have cards over here as well, right?
So that's
every card can't be over there because I don't like that Saudi card time shit.
But cash. Look at this, and this answers that, and we ain't gotta say nothing. Terrence Crawford ain't fighting in Saudi; he fighting in Los Angeles. Who you think is responsible for that? Big turkey bag.
Yeah.
So again, the Fontainebleau in Vegas.
Yeah.
Saudis like sand; they'll be in Miami.
Yeah.
Like, we shouldn't really be concerned about where these fights are going to be held, and I get it because the UK fans are very, very biased and they're very opposed to Turkey's involvement. They're saying that the fight atmosphere is not like it is when they got the fights in the UK. Well, I'm sorry, you can't get your your joint for your little sweet Caroline. Bump. You know what I mean? Just because you can't do that. Go ahead.
Watch this. UFC has a crowd. Pride FC had a crowd. Different crowds, same fight. Keep going.
That's a fact. And so again, I think those are just small reasons to kind of keep things the same. And I always worry about people that like keeping things the same because I feel like they have something to hide. So those that, they want to hide their favorite fighters, they're afraid that their favorite fighter might be exposed as fiscally irresponsible or being protected by porous matchmaking. So that's why people that don't want this Saudi thing to happen, they don't want things to change. Are you talking
about fans or promoters?
I'm talking about both. Because like you said, you have people that will consistently Don't you realize it was people last night pitting Benavidez' son against Canelo's son just because they love Canelo that much?
Yeah, goofy
shit. Like, come on. I love boxing like a motherfucker. I stop and shadow box anywhere I'm at. Yeah. But guess what? I love the sport. Yeah. And when there's a new fighter next up, I'm watching him. I don't have to stay stuck on somebody or protect an idea. It ain't like
the Knicks or the institution that you grew up watching. It's constantly there's constant turnover. There's prospects turn to contenders retire, new prospects come in. Just a circle of life, like in the fucking Lion King type shit. I get it. My question, and me and you was kind of going back and forth on this a little bit. You seem to think all of the promoters are going to sell automatically. I seem to think a couple might be holding on, and you said they'll get iced out, so to speak. So they'll have to come and join. It's going to take about rough calculations. I was looking at the valuation of Eddie Hearn and them was like $850 million. It's going to take maybe $2 to $3 billion to get it done, which ain't that crazy for them.
That's nothing to them guys. Don't you realize these guys regularly buy property in New York because they got nothing else to do? $55 million penthouses in the Chrysler building because what else are we going to do with the money?
What else are we going to do? But do you think that you told me that Frank's going to sell most likely. Eddie's probably going to sell, even though that's his daddy's company, it's his daddy's baby, right? But Eddie is a businessman. That's evident. You think Oscar's going to sell, and you said Bob Arum and Al Heyman might be question mark.
The last holdouts.
Yeah.
Well, Al Heyman is already stepping away.
Al Heyman, he should be the first in line.
He should.
Let's go.
You know what I mean?
He should, and by he, I mean him and Floyd and that whole thing. And Al probably told him, "Well, go and talk to Richard and have Richard come in and make your shit liquid so you can try to sell too." Because it's gonna go the way of streaming. Yeah. I mean, if you're a label and you're still pressing up CDs, you had to stop at some point. Even if you you see where I'm going with this. You could insist on operating. Yeah. We're going to do it like we've always been doing. We don't need no Saudi money, but the mechanism will change to where if you don't have the resources, then you can't function. So if you don't have the money, because now you're going to be telling your fighters, I can't get you that fight, or we got to let it go to purse bid. Now you're going to have motherfuckers like, yo, I should have jumped when I had the chance. Now I'm going to sit out. Now you got pressure. You got the Saudis coming in and saying, how much is your contract over there? And the only thing they'll see is Bob or whomever refusing to sell your contract out of bitterness. But business-wise, the industry will shift to where you have to put your shit on streaming platforms. Eventually, once two of the biggest entities sell, and again, we're talking stateside, there is no bigger than Top Rank. Golden Boy is at where it's at, but we're talking globally, and because they have women's boxing, Matchroom is a motherfucker. And you talk about Queensberry being a silent arm, they like almost the Koch records. Whenever Top Rank is doing something in UK, it is Queensberry Promotions.
Right.
So you have
Tyson Fury,
that is that Michaela Mayer when she went and fought. So you have these entities that they're already in the system functioning in that way. So it's easy for Eddie and Frank to go, more resistant for the dude stateside to do it, but eventually they'll lose their ability to tell their fighters, we can't get you a fight and we can't get you paid.
Quick, two more things and we out. Richard Schaefer, we got to talk about this. Coming over to, because you mentioned it just two seconds ago. Richard Schaefer essentially taking the place of Leonard Ellerbe. Leonard Ellerbe supposedly stepping down. Many believe he was let go. He was doing a lot of dumb shit at the press conference, you know what I'm saying? And he's been, he's basically Mayweather Promotions is been run into the ground, basically, you know what I'm saying? They're no longer really a powerhouse. You got some good guys. A lot of these fucking Jaleel Hackett and a lot of these promising prospects are jumping ship. You've seen Richard Hitchison jump ship going over to Eddie. Eddie was low-key trying to strong-arm the fucking boxing world before the Saudi shit was coming into play. But what do you think about Schaefer? He helped build Golden Boy. He also helped with the fall of Golden Boy, you know what I'm saying? Along with Al Heyman, him being a manager and not letting these dudes do business with Golden Boy anymore. What do you think about Schaefer coming over to Mayweather Promotions and Leonard Ellerbe stepping down?
I'm going to give you a quick analogy. Boomerang. You seem to think Mayweather Promotions was powerful. No, they was only Lady Eloise. They was only Eartha Kitt. Just a name. Floyd is Eartha Kitt, just a name. My kiss, right? That's all Floyd is, because really, shit, didn't we see Leonard Ellerbe in the ring with Tank? Because Tank is PBC and not necessarily Mayweather.
When I say Mayweather, I mean Mayweather Al, right? I am him and he is I, slim with the tilted brim.
But if that were true, then these fighters would be thanking Mayweather Promotions. Jay Leon would still be there and not with Jake Paul. It's a lot of Hitch would still be there. You wouldn't have seen Jahan Ingram go on a Let the Locks Go campaign for 2 weeks straight. Ishe Smith is like, this is my confessions. He's telling everything that happened. So I'm trying to say Mayweather Promotions is a never was. It's a very disappointing. You know what Mayweather Promotions is? The Real Murder Inc., Ja Rule, DMX, and Jay-Z. The greatest thing that never actually happened to its truest fruition and potential. And with that being said, Richard Schaefer,
I was pimping Mayweather for the license.
I mean, they were using each other in that, right? Al holding my money. Al holding my money. Al tell me what to do with my money. Right? Okay, cool. But y'all believe that shit? I don't even.
Al owes him a shitload of money too. But that's another
even when I was a kid, that shit ain't fly with me. My mother hold my money. Nah, nigga, give me my shit. I'll put it up myself. You heard?
Yeah, you heard AB talk about that. He would give him like a stipend every week and shit. Shit crazy, bro.
Okay, so you let Uncle Al hold your money. That's cool. But it was Richard Schaefer that was organizing the money that Uncle Al was holding in the very beginning. So I think what he's doing now is he's trying to help Uncle Al and Nephew Floyd try to put something together. You know what I'm saying? Put a little sawdust in there, whatever they got to do, and they're gonna package Mayweather Promotions to be sold in a similar way.
They're working on the TV deal too, because they need some TV time. So
man, with Zeus Network
to bring whatever it is to bring that up, they got no dates, bro. They got no fucking dates, man.
That's the other thing I was gonna say too. When Turkey and them get involved and they start buying, like when PBC was trying to do, but all they ended up was with the fucking Armory in Minneapolis and a couple dates for Melaniki in Newark. When Turkey buy a fucking site and set a date, we're not gonna have to worry about who's on the fucking card. It'll be set. Yo, who want to fight? I got big money. What's your hottest person?
Turkey might buy a network. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know if he does that or sets up an application.
Why wouldn't he?
Though.
You said they got endless pockets, PIF, right? Why don't they buy it? They could buy a network, had their own network. Like Puff did it.
But I'm
Puff
saying if he does an application, yeah. I mean, you got the UFC Fight Pass, right? You got Fight Pass on ESPN and all that, but he can really just go the route of the application and get with one of the major broadcasting networks that are already doing something.
But you want something, Bump?
NBC.
Because I think what he'll do is because DAZN is in a position where if they get that infusion, remember they were never able to release numbers. Once they get this infusion, they can make an initial public offering. Now DAZN becomes an official player in the game. Now they can go
public.
They absolutely will go public because then they'll have an opportunity to be profitable. Once they get the turkey money, once they get that PIL money, they can make that IPO, go public. And then they can say, "Hey,
all the angel investors get paid." It's a cash out. It's a large cash out for all the angel investors when you go public.
The zone might turn into Everlast.
You lose control of your company. Now you have to appoint a board. It's not, you know what I'm saying? It's a different ballgame going public.
But that's when you get all those guys. This is when Al wasn't in before. Now they come back and they're like, "Oh shit, that's how they going." Now I get to be on the board of directors. They gave me shares, and I still run day-to-day operations. How the fuck am I gonna say no to that?
That's something that could happen. This is intriguing from the business angle. This is very intriguing and shit. And from a pure fan standpoint, I'm very excited to see this, man. I don't think they can dick this up. You know what I'm saying? I think everything. You know what I mean? So I'm very fucking excited to see this. Yo, really good show. I want to talk. Maybe we get on during the week. I want to talk about that sucker shit that Ryan Garcia doing with Caleb playing wife, talking greasy about his wife. Ryan, that's some real sucker shit. You don't play with a dude's family. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? And we'll talk about that maybe that next week. But that was some real sucker shit. I want, if you're watching, because I know his pops had tapped in on the comments in here before. Hey, you remember? You remember this shit? Yeah. Henry, if you're watching, you gotta slow your son down, man. He out here doing goofy sucker.
Yo,
moves,
Sean, talk to your brother. Sean is a reasonable Garcia. I like Sean Garcia, man. Sean seemed all right, man. Talk to your fucking brother, man. Because let me tell you something. As a married man, come on, bro. You can't do that, man. And my wife fine as a motherfucker too, man. I'll be done. Come on now. I don't play that shit.
If y'all don't know what we're talking about, just go check all the X tweets from Ryan, and we're talking greasy about it. I think this shit started because I think he said something about steroids didn't help me be Ryan. And then Caleb said, well, "Why'd you take him then?" And then Ryan, that must that's a sensitive subject.
Trigger,
Ryan starts talking about his wife. Your wife is so beautiful. I slept with your wife. Yo, what? And then they had that little brawl and the tank shit or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
So Caleb like smacking dudes. So I thought that was some bitch ass shit though.
Keep my wife name out your mouth.
Fact.
Where was Will Smith?
Where was fact? Well, yo, we're going to get out of here, man. I know everybody tired. Yo, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. We'll be back next week. The band is back together. You already know. And you already know we'll see you next week. You know what I mean?
We need the sensei.
You know what I mean? It ain't complete without the sensei. Junk Sports Boxing.
My brother.
Peace.